Hey guys, No Gas Nico here. Thanks for watching this video. I've done quite a few videos on EVs, but it occurred to me I didn't start from the beginning. What do you do before you buy an electric car? What do you look for? What's a good car? What's a bad car? What are your needs? Okay, so first let's start off with the basics. How are you going to charge it? Do you live in an apartment building? Can you install a faster charger? That's one. You're in a residential home. Then, wiring. I'm going to show you what you need to do to get fastest speed of charging that you can for your car. Can you only go to DC fast chargers? So first things first. Is your home equipped to be able to handle this? Do you have a 200 amp service? You can do it with a 100 amp service. You can do it with a 60 amp service. But you're going to be throttling back your speeds. I have a 200 amp service. I just had it installed a little over a year ago. I was going to do it anyway, but buying EVs kind of pushed that faster. So you want a 200 amp service like you see behind me. That's my service. Typically you're going to want a 50 amp breaker. 50 amp breaker, you mean you can run 40 amps to that circuit. So 40 times 240 volts is going to give you 960 watts or 9.6 kilowatts. Now, not all cars can take 9.6 kilowatts. Some of the newer EVs, even some Teslas, can go more than 9.6 kilowatts. So you might need an 80 amp breaker or 100 amp breaker for those. So it depends on what are you buying, how fast can it charge, and what is your service able to provide. Obviously, if you have a 60 amp panel, you're not going to feed 80 amps into a Tesla charger. So here's a picture of my 50 amp breaker, and that's feeding my ChargePoint Home Flex, which I have put on the outside of my garage. Because we don't park in the garage, we've converted the garage into a home gym thanks to the pandemic. So we park outside. So I had a 6-gauge wire ran. Electricians did it, not me. So please, you electricians, it was a licensed electrician did this work. They did it at the same time and put my panel in. So they ran a 6-gauge wire about 80 feet, and then they wired it direct to my charger. So now all I have to do is plug my car in, and the fastest my cars can charge is 6.6 kilowatts or 6,600 watts. So I only really needed 30 amps, but I can go up to 40 amps. So I'm kind of made it future proof. So something you can think about too. Then I had another wire ran because my daughter has a Nissan Leaf as well with that needs faster charging. So this one we use the home charger that came with the car. Came with a NEMA 1450 plug, so I had a NEMA 1450 plug put on the side of my garage, and then as you can see in the pictures, I plug it into the house. It's got a nice little cradle that came with it for the charger to sit into, and then from there we run the wire out. And I bought those cheap little connectors, little hooks that you can plug into and wrap the cords on. I got those off Amazon. They're pretty cheap, like $14-15. So that's what you need to do. So how much is it going to cost you? Depends. $200-300 if you have an electrician friend, and if it's just materials, $600-700, $800 $1,000. I don't know what your area is going to cost, but it would probably be less than $1,000. I would plan on around the $500 range to have your house wired to be able to charge it. Now, why do you need that? Well, if you're just going to plug it in a 110, you're going to need 1 hour for every 5 miles. So of 110 volt, it's going to take, to get 50 miles of range, you need to charge for 10 hours. It's not enough. If you do a lot of driving, that's not going to cut it. We found that out fast with my daughter's car. With as much running around she did with plays and sports and stuff, running home and school, it just wasn't cutting it for her car, and it's a little smaller battery. She only gets 50-60 mile range anyway. So we had to upgrade so she can get the full 6,600 watts or the 6.6 kilowatts. and again, the cars dictate how fast the charge goes. The charger itself is actually in the car. What you're plugging in, that plug, is called an EVSE, an electric vehicle supply equipment. All that does is provide the current to the car to charge. Their communications, the car says I can take this much, and the plug says I can give you this much. They agree on an amount, and it goes into the car. So that's one. Two, what charger do I need? Again, what can your car accept? Some hybrids only take 3600 watts or 3.6 kilowatts. My wife's C-Max, perfect example. So don't need that big of a circuit. You can run a smaller gauge, 240 volt, 20 amp breaker into a NEMA 620 plug, and a picture of a plug like that right here. That will provide you the 3600 watts. So Chevy Volts, Ford C-Max, some of the early model Nissan Leafs, they did 3.6 kilowatts. And again, you don't need a big, you still need 240 volt supply, but you don't need a lot of power, so you can step down the wire size, which will be a cheaper cost because that 6 gauge wire is pretty expensive. And if you go higher amperage, you might go 4 gauge or 0 gauge. Just, it depends. Of course, an electrician is going to decide what gauge wire you want. Unless you're handy and you can do it yourself, I suggest having an electrician do it. So again, what does your car have? What do you need? So buy a charger for the car. Now, do you want to buy one that has bigger capabilities? Maybe you're like, hey, I'm going to buy a Tesla down the road, so I'm going to want one that can do 40 amps. Okay, so buy it, but make sure you have a plug capable with that. So you match the wiring in the house to the EVSE that you're going to buy. And if your car takes less, the EVSE is still going to give it its maximum potential. So, all right, so now we covered what you're going to do at your house. You get these different chargers. So again, you have your smaller ones, 3.6 kilowatts, and then they step up. Various different plugs. If you have a house that already has a plug with 240 volt, you can search for an EVSE that has that specific plug. You save yourself a bunch of money, plug it into that, you're done. So again, that's your situation. Showed you pictures of my setup. Do whatever works for you, and again, always do it by code and hire an electrician. So third, what are you going to do if you're renting, landlord says no, you're not going to do that, or you're in an apartment complex that there's just no way because the parking is so far away from the building, so you just cannot charge your car. Well, you're going to want to make sure you're up on all your local charging. I suggest getting all the apps on your phone. There's ChargePoint, EVgo. It just depends. Do you have DC fast charging? So if you only have the J1772, then I would suggest you get something like PlugShare. What PlugShare does is it can show you the locations of all the J1772 charging areas. So you might have to drive your car down, park it, charge it at a local station. Hopefully you have one nearby. If not, you're going to be sitting there for a few hours while your car charges, so get a tablet, something to read. Ideally, you want to charge it at home, even if it's off 110. Overnight, you're going to get 50-60 miles of range. If you're like my wife, who has an 80-mile round-trip commute, 110 is not going to be enough. You got to get that level 2. Chargers come in 3 different configurations. One is a level 1 charger that plugs into your regular 3-prong outlet, like you would plug into the wall of your house. It's going to supply you with maybe 1.4 kilowatts or 1400 watts of power. So it draws quite a bit, so don't plug it into the same circuit you're going to be running an air conditioner or something else. Make sure it's a dedicated circuit, or you're only charging the car off that at night. Then there's level 2. Level 2 is a 240 volt charger. That gets you into the 3600 watt, 6600 watt, 9600 watt. Sometimes you get into the 10 kilowatt range or higher when you get into Tesla. You take your amps times your volts, you get your watts. So if your amps are 40, take 40 times 240. That's going to give you 9600. That's 9.6 kilowatts. That's how you get your rate of speed of how fast you charge. Third charger is something you're not going to have at your house. You're not going to be able to install at your house. It's called a DC fast charge. Reason why is those are 3-phase, 480 volt 3-phase. That would cost you tens of thousands of dollars to have the transformer and wire ran. So that's only public charging stations. And those are the ones that can charge your car really, really fast, where 20-30 minutes can get you 100 miles or more. So those are going to be handy if you can't get a charger at your house. Make sure there's one of those near where you live, because if not, you're going to be spending hours on a level 2 charger versus maybe half an hour on a level 3 charger. So again, before you buy an EV, look at these things. Make sure that 1, you can get the charging you need. 2, if you can't get the charging you need, you have chargers nearby and available at the rate of speed that you need. Okay, now let's talk about your needs and what you're looking for when you're picking out a car. How far do you travel a day? Do you like taking long road trips? These are the things that, how often do you take a road trip? A lot of people ask me, what can a car do? Why would you buy a car that can only go 50 or 60 miles? Well, we got a car for my daughter. She goes back and forth to school, plays, works out great for her. She's tooling all around town. I don't have to worry about her stopping at a gas station. It's a beautiful thing, and it's a nice car. It's a nice solid car. It's a dependable car. So she's got a 2013 Nissan Leaf S. Here's a picture of it. So with that car fits her needs 95% of the time. Sometimes she needs to travel out of town for sports. I just swap cars with her for the day. She'll drive my car, I'll drive her car, so she has my long range Leaf while I'll take hers to work, because I have a 7-mile commute to work. So not a big deal. We make it work amongst us. Now, if she graduates high school, goes on to college, and we find out she needs a car with more range, we'll deal with that when the time comes. But for right now, it meets her needs perfectly, and we don't have to worry about it. I bought a long range Nissan Leaf. Sometimes I like going out of town. Wife likes going out of town, and it's nice to be able to jump in a car. You got 200 miles you can go on a highway and not have to worry about it. Typically when we go out of town, it's local within our state. So I wanted to get a car that could do that locally. What are your needs? Do you only drive 30-40 miles a day? You can buy a used Nissan Leaf first generation that does 80 to 100 miles per charge. Get all your stuff done that you need. And if you had to go out of town, make sure it has a DC fast charger. Some of them Leafs didn't. So make sure if you buy one and you do want to take it out of town, that it does have what's called a CHAdeMO charging port. Make sure you specifically ask if it has CHAdeMO if you're looking at a car. If you're never going to go out of town, then no worries. Buy one of those cars. You can get them fairly cheap, less than $10,000, and you can tool around town and spend about 3.5 cents per mile driving that car, depending on your electric rates and where you're at. I have a video that shows you how to calculate that if you want to check out my videos. So you get a long range car. Maybe you need faster. Maybe you need really, really fast charging speeds. Find out how fast the DC fast chargers can charge. My car can charge, for example, my car can charge at 100 kilowatts. But in Michigan, I haven't found a CHAdeMO station that's capable of delivering 100 kilowatts. I've only found 53 is my max. So even though my car can accept it, chargers in my area won't deliver it. So there's not chargers big enough. I have seen posts on the internet, on social media, people getting 70, 80, 90 kilowatt charge in the exact same car I have. I've never seen that myself. So Not a big deal. I usually don't need that fast. I usually stop, grab a bite to eat while the car's charging, and it's fine. So again, determine what your needs are before you go out looking for a car, because you might buy something really expensive that you don't really need. You can buy a used, cheaper version, and it fits your needs and saves you a lot of money. Or you do like taking road trips. You like going out of town to go shopping at that one particular store. Get a long range version, a little newer model that has a bigger battery pack. You're going to pay a little extra money, but it'll be well worth it, because then you're not going to have buyer's remorse after you purchase it. Let me know what you think. Put your questions in the comments. I answer them typically in the same day. Sometimes it'll be the next day. It might be busy. But usually within 24 hours, I answer all comments. So put your questions in the comments. I'll be glad to answer any questions. Anything you got, questions about chargers, questions about care, maintenance on the vehicle, that kind of stuff, just shoot me a question. I'll answer it. Also, put in the comments if there are any content you'd like me to go over. I would love to get ideas on what my next video should be. I know a little teaser is I do have a road trip planned, so it's going to be a big one, and I'm doing it just because I want to see if I can do it. Haven't gone this far before in the car. So again, I like to make this interactive. I don't want to just talk to you. I want to hear from you. So please comment, and if you like what I'm doing here, subscribe, click the like button so more people, this will be visible for more people, because I think this information needs to get out there. Not a lot of people have this. So all right, that's it for now. Thanks for watching. God bless.